We are glad to see you again on our channel. And today we have a film review where Damien Hale, a rich man, decides to test his fate and extend his life using a new method. He does not yet know that the body in which he is to live belonged to the man with his destiny and his memories. Damien Hale, a New York billionaire, is meeting a young businessman, Carl, along with his friend and partner, Martin. Damien tells the boy that he has started building business because of him and will stop too. Carl swears and says that Damien will lose his life in a year and leaves. Damien says the guy is wrong because he won't last 6 months. Damien had metastases in his liver and lungs. The oncologist was already talking to him about hospice care. Martin says he's sorry, but Damien replies that what he and his wife went through, the loss of the child, that's terrible. And he, the dying old man, is nonsense. Martin asks if Damien told his daughter Claire, to what he replies that the woman is not answering his calls. The waiter brings a dish with peanuts. Damien says he has cancer, and he's worried about allergies, laughing. Men say goodbye. Damien gets in the car and before leaving asks if Martin has heard about shedding. When he gets a negative answer, he swears he just read it somewhere and leaves. Damien Hale. In the car, Damien tries to call Claire again, but there's voicemail. The man takes out a business card from the purse, which is written Biogenic Company Phoenix, and the inscription, "They will help you," with the phone number. Damien comes to the doctor. He is told that before him, shedding made less than a dozen people. The procedure is exclusive. The doctor says that they give the greatest minds more time to unlock their potential. He shows the body and says that, so far, it is an empty vessel. Damien asks why everything is secret, but the doctor replies that this is the wrong question. He also asks if Damien feels immortal. Albright. Damien comes to his daughter. He invites Claire to a cafe where she liked ice cream as a child. He tells his daughter to take the money, but she refuses, saying that his check will not fix anything. Damien leaves. Damien Googles shedding and finds a link to the doctor and video. He turns on the video and starts watching it, but his cough captures. Damien coughs blood and loses consciousness. He is taken to the hospital. Damien calls Albright and tells him that he does not feel immortal. The doctor says that Damien must understand that there is no going back and his life will have to be said goodbye. Damien replies that he has conditions too. He will pay only after the procedure. The doctor tells Damien to finish the business and fly in on Tuesday. He also recalls that death must be public and hints at coffee with a refill. Damien calls Martin and invites him to dine together in New Orleans. The men meet in a cafe. Damien drinks coffee. He feels and falls on the floor. Martin screams to call a doctor. Damien is taken by the ambulance. In the car, they give him oxygen and say that there is no allergic reaction. It just seems to him. The doctor also says that in 20 minutes, he should be brought dead. Damien is brought to the place. The doctor says the equipment is a giant magnet and asks if the body has any iron because it will disrupt the process. The doctor puts Damien on the couch and covers his face with something, saying it's for heart failure. In parallel, the body of a young man lies in the same equipment. The equipment begins to work. Damien finds himself in the body of a young man, and his body, deprived of life, is taken away. The doctor comes to Damien and says that the first days will be uncomfortable, but then everything will pass. Damien says it's like the smell of a new car. He looks at the doctor, but sees as if some visions in parallel. The doctor shows Damien newspaper articles about his death. The doctor says he can visit the cemetery later if it's important. Damien learns for a few days to walk again, swim, feel a new body. The doctor asks how he feels, and Damien replies that he has spent $250 million for a reason. Dr. Albright gives Damien pills and says that the first year may be hallucinations as the mind struggles with the adoption of a new body. Damien takes pills and trains further. He studies his new biography. Damien gets in the car, and the doctor gives him the documents and also says that he has a house nearby and a car, and the money is all in a new account. Damien. The doctor gives a new bottle of pills and says that he will give them every week. Damien says that the short leash was out of the question, so Dr. Albright explains that there were few procedures. That's why every patient is a subject of study, but that's not for long. The doctor drops Damien off and leaves. Damien leaves. Damien enters the house and inspects. Damien then is getting used to a new body. He plays basketball on the court and meets Anton, who offers to have a drink together. In the evening, Damien meets Anton, who comes with two girls. Damien goes home with one of them. Damien begins a new full life. The man runs, plays basketball, drinks, hangs out, and sleeps with girls. In the evening, Damien looks at the photo of his daughter and dials her number, but when he hears her voice, immediately drops the phone. The man has some visions, similar to memories. He sees a soldier, then a woman on a horse, and a girl who pronounces Dad. Damien meets the doctor and tells him about the visions. He says that he constantly sees the girl and her mother. Damien says she is ill and asks for help. The doctor explains this by saying that Damien missed the medication once, but Damien insists that he knows them and it's not hallucinations. The doctor says it may seem that way. He finds the arguments and then gives Damien a trip to Hawaii, telling him to change the scene. The doctor also says he'll double his medication and soon the episodes will stop. Damien finds information on the internet about the pumpkin and the water tower that he saw in the visions. It's all in St. Louis. He packs up his things, the driver takes him to the airport, and watches while Damien checks into Hawaii. Damien approaches the front desk and says he has changed plans and is flying to St. Louis. Damien arrives in town and finds the tower with a pumpkin. Behind the tower, he sees a farm and a house and heads there. The door to the house is open and the man enters. He sees the medical bill on the table. At this time, Madeline enters the house and points the gun at Damien. When the man turns to her, she starts to cry and says, "It's impossible." There is a knock on the door. Damien opens and enters a man who says he wants to help. And with him is Anton. Damien asks, "What's going on here?" He is told that this was the only way to pay for the treatment of Anna. Anton tells Damien that there is a car waiting outside and he just needs to leave, not interfere. And the rest is not his concern. With the woman, Madeline is an accident. Damien stands up sharply and says that he needs to drink the medication. He goes to the bathroom and the man follows him. Damien pretends to be sick and then attacks. Anton goes to the bathroom and asks why Damien does this. They have agreed. The men start a fight. Damien brings Madeline to her senses. Meanwhile, the house fills with smoke and the men shout that they will burn them. Damien crawls under the floor with Madeline. Damien shoots those outside and takes their lives. Damien tells Madeline to leave. The girl cries and asks how this is possible. Damien gets into the role and says he had to disappear for Anna. He says he didn't want Madeline to have to choose between him and his daughter. Madeline says that Anna is at school and they are going to take her. Damien finds in Madeline's phone video from Anna's birthday. The girl hugs Damien and says she loves him. They arrive at the hotel. Damien changes his clothes and asks Madeline if they can go somewhere in the morning. Then Damien stands up abruptly and goes outside to breathe with a laptop. Damien Googles shedding and opens a link with a doctor who lost his life. He notices from the video that Dr. Albright has undergone the procedure. Madeline leans over him and says that he was lying on the ground. She asks Damien what is going on. The man asks, "Just trust him." The next morning, the family leaves for New Orleans. Damien says he needs to talk to the doctor's wife when Anna asks if she is the reason they are going there. Damien comes to the nursing home and goes to the doctor's wife. She tells a man that Albright visits her every week and brings her favorite sweets. She says she has a doctor's number. Albright picks up the phone and tells the old lady that he will come soon. Albright enters the room and sees a woman on the bed. Damien points a gun at him and commands him to close the door. Damien says he needs more pills. Then he says he didn't want anyone to get hurt. Albright says to think how many minds were lost for this world just because they were betrayed by their bodies. The doctor says that if he stops taking the pills, the Damien consciousness will disappear. But if he takes pills constantly, then the consciousness of the previous body's owner will gradually erase, and in a year will disappear forever. Albright says the man is always asking the wrong questions. Damien points a gun at him and takes him out of the room, but another man intercepts him in the corridor. Damien is taken to the street. To him goes Madeline, which is also taken. Damien and Madeline manage to escape, but Damien realizes that one of the men is Anton in the other body. Damien with Madeline and Anna leave. Damien tells the girl the truth and she cries. He says he does not ask to understand, but without his help, they will not survive. He says to take the girl and get in the car. Damien explains that his friend has a plane and he will take them out of the country. In Geneva, he has a secret bank account. When all is over, Damien promises to disappear. Damien comes to Martin and tells him everything. The man at first does not believe Damien, but then he takes out the original of their very first contract and remembers the day of its signing. Martin says he has arranged everything, but it is necessary to wait a little. Damien goes to Anna and says that he did not teach her to swim. The man teaches the girl to swim in the pool near the house. Madeline sees it from the window. When Damien enters the house, Madeline hugs and kisses him, and then asks him to tell something about his past life. Damien tells her about his daughter. Then he goes looking for Anna and finds her in a room with a boy. Damien quickly takes the girl and tells Madeline that they need to leave because the boy is Martin's son, whom he buried 2 years ago. Coming down, Damien tells Martin that bodies are not grown from test tubes, and these are other people with their lives. Damien tells Madeline to take Anna and leave. Martin says he will take them. Damien himself gets into another car and leaves. After him, the chase immediately begins. The man shoots back, but he is still haunted by Anton in a new body. The chasers' cars are turned over in pursuit. Damien manages to get out and he goes to the cafe. Here comes Martin and says that Madeline and Anna are caught. Martin asks Damien how his seizures are and says that he calculated the formula of the pills. Damien doubts and asks how the other involved people are, like Anna and her mother. Damien decides 12 hours not to take the pills to see the memory of a man being brought to the operating room to figure out where the doctor's laboratory is. Damien is tormented by visions and he understands everything. Damien arrives at the laboratory site. He knocks out the guards on the way. Damien enters the laboratory and sees Dr. Albright, who says that both Madeline and Anna are perfect for new customers. Damien is grabbed and put into the equipment. The doctor says that the body will be transferred to Anton. Damien comes to himself and starts behaving like Anton. He asks where the girl is and goes to her. He charges the gun and shoots the guards who go with him. Albright finds in the equipment an iron thing that interfered the work, as a result of which Damien remains in the body. Damien comes to Albright. He tells the doctor the formula of his pills and then, with a fire extinguisher, burns a hole in the wall and takes Albright's life. Damien sends Madeline and Anna to the boat. Damien himself meets with Claire, introducing himself as a friend of his father, and gives her a letter allegedly from him. Mark comes to himself and sees the recording on the laptop. Damien says he bought his body and thanks for a few months. He also reveals that he stopped taking the pills so that Mark's consciousness will return. Mark comes to the island to Madeline and Anna. The family reunites. This is an American film, Selfless, in the genres of fiction, thriller, action film, directed by Tarsem Singh.